All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. This is our final segment, and we carve out some time to lay out what you need to know about this week's game of the week. It is season 2 of Drive to the Game, week 3 already of the high school football season. WJR and Sportscaster.com have partnered to bring you a marquee matchup every Friday night throughout the high school football season. This week, Southfield A&T at Stoney Creek. Here for a preview is Sportscaster's Giovanni Moceri.
I'm Giovanni Moceri, your host of Drive to the Game Season 2, and we're already at Week 3. This week, setting us up at Rochester Hills Stoney Creek as the Cougars take on the Southfield A&T Warriors for OAA White action. It's conference play now, and you can tune into the game Friday night. Pre-game starts at 6:50 exclusively on YouTube and on Sportscaster.com before we kick things off to Chris Renwick on the play-by-play along with our student broadcasters on the WJR feed of it. From there, we'll be on both feeds, so you can find whichever way fits you best to enjoy Drive to the Game. And it's going to be a great one for this as we open up conference play in the Oakland Activities Association White Division with two teams that are on kind of a similar timeline, both under the second year of recently hired head coaches. We'll break them down right here on the preview. And we'll start things off with the visiting Southfield A&T Warriors. 2 years ago, they were the state champions as they defeated Belleville, preventing a three-peat in the state championship and left Bryce Underwood with only 2 state championships. Wah. Anyway, but from there, after that state championship in November of 2023, head coach Aaron Marshall of the Warriors left to take the job at Brother Rice, leaving the opportunity for new head coach Keith McKenzie, who comes into this job not only with coaching experience beyond his playing days, but going into those playing days, we're talking about a Super Bowl champion here. A 7th-round pick to the Green Bay Packers, got himself a ring in their 1996 championship. He also is a Hall of Famer, class of 2006 at Saginaw Valley State University, where he holds the sack record. So he comes into this one with a whole lot of experience, but unfortunately, in his first season as the Warriors head coach, it did not go very well. A 2-7 overall record and an 0-4 record in conference. Put simply, McKenzie said that his team was terrible and knew that there were many improvements still need to be made. However, through all that struggle the first year, 13 returning starters will be into this season with that experience, with that bad taste in their mouth, and that leadership going to be, important for the rest of the squad. For those who are newcomers from either freshman or JV, these returning starters got to know, they don't want to have a season like that again, and it leaves a ton of room for improvement. But unfortunately, at the start of this season, we're into week 3. There were 2 previous games did not get them over the hump like they would like. However, they were against really tough teams. Week 1, they would host East Kentwood, who has one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Michigan, and the Warriors would lose this one 43-8. Now, East Kentwood, according to the D Zone, is where I'm going to be getting some of my rankings here. East Kentwood's the number 9 team in the state. I mean, that's no slouch, and you get a lot to learn out of that, and you get to know your team very well after a game like that. And in week 2, they would get a similar experience against West Bloomfield on the road, where they would suffer a shutout 37-0 loss. And West Bloomfield, according to the D Zone, the number 29 team in the state. So they've been cutting their teeth on some really, really tough competition, trying to see what his team is made of. And that's going to set up a great matchup for the Cougars in OAA White play. It's kind of like you think about it in the college level. Some teams, they try to get some easy breezy games in the beginning of the season, trying to have some fun, get the people excited. But coaches like McKenzie, they want the tough schedule. They want to know what they're about to get them ready and prepared for that very important conference part of the season that will begin with the Cougars with the Cougars hosting the Warriors. And now we'll shift things over to the Stoney Creek Cougars under the second year of head coach Rick Powell, who has plenty of deep roots in the area, in the conference. It's in his blood. His father has been a head coach for many, many years, and it's been part of his life ever since the beginning. Rick Powell's career began at Warren Cousino, where he was a starting quarterback for 4 years, where they would reach the playoffs every single one of those years, a state final in his junior year, and an undefeated regular season in his senior year. 5,000 total yards and 50 touchdowns puts him in high company when it comes to those who have played in high school. So he's been there and done that. Most recently, he comes from a 5-year stint at the defensive coordinator spot for the Lake Orion Dragons, now the head coach of the Stoney Creek Cougars. So for last year, in his first year, 5-5 and 2-2, a 500 record to start things out. Not too bad for the first year of a head coaching stint. They got 12 starters coming back as well, so pretty much even with the Warriors in terms of returning talent. And they also come into this one with a little bit of momentum, winning 4 of their last 5 in the last season before they ran into Rochester Adams in the playoffs, who we saw last week. And we know that that's no slouch of a team as they made their way to the state semifinals. And taking a look at some of their first 2 games this season. Oh, and by the way, when I mentioned the 12 starters coming back, also worth noting, 24 seniors are on this Cougar team. So you want to talk about a veteran presence. The Cougars definitely got it. And now to get into the start of their season, 2-0 is how they begin, with some big wins against some tough teams. Against Coach Powell's alma mater, Warren Cousino, they hosted them and defeated them 42-28 in a barn burner to start the regular season. And then in week 2, they would go on the road in the OAA White against his previous place of employment, at Lake Orion. They would defeat the Dragons 29-20. And now we saw in the first week when we were at the Amazon Prep Kickoff Classic, Lake Orion, a very good team too. It was a nail-biter in their loss to Northville, but still, that is a formidable team, and they were 38th in the state according to D-Zone at the time. And after that loss, they dropped down pretty far. So a sizable win for the Cougars to bring them 2-0 coming into this matchup against the Warriors. And it's going to be a ton of fun. Hope you guys are able to tune in. Remember, the pregame show starts on YouTube and sportscaster.com at 6:50 before we kick things off to WJR at 7 o'clock for the kickoff, and then we'll be with you both ways all the way. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to stay tuned to all things Michigan high school football, because we got it here on Drive to the Game. We'll see you there at Stoney Creek.
That's going to do it for this week here on Open Mic. Want to thank you all for tuning in. Hope to see you back here Friday night for Drive to the Game, Southfield A&T against Stoney Creek. That's coming up on Friday. For the rest of you, you can always find us right here on WJR every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 o'clock. Have a great week. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next time around. I'm your host here on Open Mic, Johnny Kane. Until next time, Godspeed.